All right, let's get started. But hey, top tip number one of confidence in communication is how do we get ready for communication? Are we in a good mood? Do we have a song that gets us pumped up? Are there things that we can do physically, physiologically? Sometimes smiling a little bit more can add to our confidence. So if you're tuning into this, everyone who's here, welcome. And if anybody's listening or paying attention to the recording, this is a communication, call it masterclass, and thinking specifically about confidence in communication. How do we learn to communicate more effectively and also more confidently? And what are some of the things we can think about, practice, do so that the confidence of our communication rises, the effectiveness of our communication rises? Because it's critical in all that we're doing. It's critical in everyone we communicate with and those relationships, the business or personal. When we communicate better, we impact people in different ways. Outcomes that may not have been available start to become available. So that's the value, I think, of just thinking about this conversation, thinking about communication. And I got to welcome my co-host here. Tony is a new friend of mine, business partner of ours, like all kinds of things. But he's someone who I've just had the benefit of knowing and understanding and learning about, but also he's got some strong communication and confidence when he communicates. And I think there's a lot that we're going to glean from both his experience and my experience. But Tony, welcome. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Ajar, and I'm so thrilled to be here co-hosting with my beloved brother and friend and serving all you. So everything's going good. I'm so excited for this class. Communication is by far the most important aspect of an individual's life when it comes to all of life. It really is encompassing. So they say that without communication, it's a hindrance in every aspect, in every area, whether that's business, whether that's relational, whether that's family. So there is a great importance, and I'm just so happy that we can actually share our wisdom with you, and any questions you have, we can answer. That's why we started on time. We want to be consistent because that is also a part of communication. So we know people will trickle in, but at the end of the day, we want to answer questions. We want to get through the topics. And so I'm just glad to be here and to go over it and say, write down your questions as you're hearing us talk. So if something comes to mind, because memorization is very important as well. And I struggle with memorization. I have to actually work harder and put frameworks in my life to make sure that I'm utilizing those things.
I think that's a great point. And welcome, everyone. Welcome the team, Angelica, Hassani, Princess, and everyone else who's joining in here. Zechariah, Christelle, Lillian, thank you for being on video. If anybody wants to come on video or feels bold enough to be on video, that's the request here. There's a confidence to be okay being on video too, because obviously if we're interviewing or we're doing business with people or we're looking to do business with people, the more personal, top tip, be more personal with people. It could be the smile, it could be the energy. We're going to talk about a number of those different things. I think maybe we'll do a quick outline of what we're going to be talking about. I think the first part of what we want to cover is thinking about some of the mindset about communication, like how do we get in the right mindset around confidence? I think there's some practical stuff, like how do we communicate effectively? So we're going to go over a couple of things around effective communication. And then I think there's a component of this that is, how do you work on it? And so we're going to give some tips and ideas around how to actually start to build your confidence and build your communication skill sets. And so with that, if you are here, maybe post in the chat, where are you located? We did that last time, but like what city, what country are you in? And also part of communication is like, why are we here? What are you looking? If there's something you're looking to get out of this conversation, put that in the chat. Like, what had you say, I'm going to tune into this conversation? What was it that you're looking for? Because sometimes it's good before we get into any training or any conversation we have an intention, we have an outcome we're looking for. And oftentimes when we look for it, we find it. So we want to know, what are you looking for? And we're going to do some back and forth dialogue as we go. Tony, do you want to talk about just mindset? Like, I know for me, I was not always a confident communicator. In fact, to lead a webinar like this years ago would have been incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly intimidating, let alone being able to think coherently and build a message about what I wanted to say. So it's taken time. But Tony, maybe do you want to give a perspective on how you've maybe over time built confidence in your communication, or anything else that comes to mind?
Absolutely. And I'll hit on something I just read by one of the top communicators in the world. And what she was talking about is when she introduced herself, she says, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm a recovering awkward person." Right. And she's like, from a stage, it really breaks the ice. And so we can actually own where we were at and recognize how happy we are to be where we're at, where we come from, and where we're going. And so I did want to start with a stat. And they did this study that talked about the top influential factors from all business people, employers, and potential clients. So they all did this statistic, and this was the question. What is the top influential factor that aimed to build trust with potential businesses, clients, employers, things like this? Was it A, being an established business expert, B, having a high degree of confidence, C, demonstrating advanced expertise in that field or area, or D, having a well-respected reputation? And by far, it was actually B, having a high degree of confidence. That's higher than skill set, higher than expertise. It blew it out of the water based on the CEOs and everybody that took this study. When they did this study, what they found in athletics is they had the Olympics, the highest and greatest athletes around the world, the way they carried themselves, their posture. And then they went to the Special Olympics where the blind were there. And what they found was something that was astronomical. And they saw that the blind that couldn't never see, that never saw anything on TV, never saw these other athletes, they mirrored the posture of the greatest successful people, whether that's in communication, athletics, or whatever. So, and they never seen that. So it showed how high confidence is and how it comes across and how important it is. Now, as my journey went, I would say for me, I had to go the opposite way. So I was never an introvert. I grew up in the car business and I was very wanted to talk to people in front of people, did commercials early on, but I was super nervous. A lot of times did it the right way. I didn't have frameworks and I winged it. And so for me, it was the thing I learned the most was preparation. And so I had to slow myself down because even my gift was actually a hindrance, because what I found was those that didn't maybe have the extrovert thing or the gift of communication, I found when I got into the higher tiers of people doing other commercials or talks or leadership development classes, they had an edge on me. And when I talked to them, you know, they loved my character, they loved everything. They said, "This is what you need." And they spoke about prep, they spoke about frameworks, and preparation and frameworks go hand in hand. So, and we're going to get into a few of those, but that's kind of my journey, is making sure I stay prepped. And small things lead to big results. When we ask for you guys to go on the video, let me tell you, it's not for anybody but yourself, because that's the first. If you could do it here around kind of like a family environment, nobody's judging you could do it out there. And a lot of times, especially if you're overseas, you're going to be in front of a camera. So you want to definitely practice the way you're going to end up playing.
I think that's a key element that we'll hit on as we go along is, one, preparation and practice. Preparation and practice. Like, are we preparing for that communication? Are we practicing? And that's how we're going to elevate. The more preparation and practice I've done, the easier leading a conversation like this, for example, becomes, because now I've done it so many times that even if I don't have a script, even if I don't have a message, my mind will start to put it together just because I've done it so many times and so many iterations. Give me a topic and I'll run. That didn't used to be the case. So here's what I want to do. As Tony, you were sharing, I was thinking, we all have beliefs about who we are as a communicator. I used to, example, I used to think I'm an awful communicator. I'm shy. Tony said the word awkward. And like, I don't know how. Like that was how, as a kid, I was a shy kid, terrified to raise his hand in school, terrified to speak up in the boardroom or conference room or whatever rooms I was in professionally. So what I want to ask you right now, you don't have to share it, but think about it at minimum. If I were to say, how do you view yourself as a communicator? What's like the thing that comes to mind? How do you see yourself as a communicator? Because that's an embedded mindset that might be there. And so what we want to do is take the current story, whatever it is, and change it into a new story that we start to tell about ourselves. It could be, I'm awkward, I'm shy, I don't speak good English, whatever the story is, and then say, at a simple level, I'm a good communicator. I communicate really well. And we start to shift the story from whatever we continuously tell ourselves to, this is who I am now, and this is who I am committed to being moving forward. I want to give Zechariah, I'm going to give you a shout out because you are on camera. So could you maybe just tell us like what you think about yourself as a communicator, if you'd be so bold? What's the story that you may have about yourself as a communicator?
As I was growing up, even as a child, I mean myself is sorry, I'm running out of words, but I'm an adaptive communicator. I can say I'm able to adjust my tone and style depending on the audience. That's one of the things that I had adopted from working in the business process outsourcing industry for the past 10 years, working with US clients. So there has been like trainings that I had undergone wherein I had to adjust depending on the region, depending on their location. Because you see, in the United States, there are different kind of ways of communication or ways on how you'll be able to communicate depending on the area that they are in. They do have different attacks on that, and also um, whenever I'm handling customer inquiries, collaborating with a team, or providing technical support, I can confidently say that I can handle that as well.
There's a certain confidence that you're bringing to your communication, and it can be powerful, right? Let's say 10 years ago, if you rated yourself as a communicator 1 to 10, 10 years ago, how did you feel about your communication?
Going back 10 years ago, as I had started way back, I'm not that confident in speaking, though I know how to communicate the language itself, but it's not, the confidence is not boosted enough. Unlike having to go through all of the experiences over the past 10 years, that is where I gained all the confidence that I'm having right now. And I can say that it is better that way because the more you can communicate, the more you can express yourself. Aside from that, the more you'll be able to understand the people that you're working with, and the same way around.
And so where would you grade yourself now on that same scale? So where were you before 10 years ago, 1 to 10, and then where do you see yourself now?
Before, I can say around 4 or 5. Now around 8 or 9.
Amazing. And how does that feel? Like, how does it feel to like think about how far you've come and some of the things that you've done to get there?
It has been a long process, but definitely the outcome has been amazing because as you go along and you have been equipped with a lot of skills, especially with communication, everything else will follow. Because again, as I have mentioned earlier, the more you understand the people around you, the more you'll be able to express and also work with them.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Zechariah, for being bold and courageous. And also, this is for everyone. Like, wherever you're at is completely okay. And within a year, within 5 years, within 10 years, you can climb the scale. And so that's part of it. Sometimes the biggest thing to building confidence is getting real about where we're at, where we want to go, and then building some kind of blueprint or steps that we can take. And in Zechariah's case, we hear that she wasn't always at an 8 or a 9, she was at a 4 or a 5, but she was jumping into different situations, different trainings, different client engagements, that over time her confidence grew, her skill sets grew. And so the one, change is possible. Know where you're at, and then figure out where you want to go. And then some of the other stuff we're going to share here will be a blueprint for how to get there. Tony, how would you like to add on to all this?
One thing is I always say when it comes to growing in communication, I love where you're at because it's all about growth. I always talk about the journey. Always recognize where you're going to be, because you do want to visualize that, on a serious note, like the potential that if you put in the hard work, you'll be able to get there. And, from a psychology standpoint, 7% of communication is words. So here's the thing, 38% is actually tonality, the way we actually communicate the words and kind of go up and down with it, which we can work on and give you some frameworks for. And then 55% is body language, whether that's on a screen, whether that's standing in front of somebody. So, but I would say as far as getting to where you're at, I love your testimony. And I think that testimony is applied for everybody. One thing you'll learn, whether that's sales, whether that's communication, all the best say one thing, that it's something that you're not born with. The thing that every communicator, the ones you'll spend thousands of dollars on and all this stuff, they'll tell you this, all of it is learnable. You can actually learn these frameworks. You can learn how to be confident. You can put these things in your life and grow every step of the way. And if you're being intentional about it, you will get to what you visualize in the future.
I just leveraged ChatGPT for the statistics, Tony, and because I used to share this in some of my training programs, but I think it's good to bring to life here. 7% of communication is actually the words we're using. And there's different statistics, but we'll use these from ChatGPT. 38% is vocal, like the tone, the pitch, the volume. And then as Tony said, 55% is nonverbal. Like, how are we physically showing up? So all of these components are important to think about and work on as we do. So I think we've covered a little bit of mindset. So you want to think about, what's my current mindset and what's my future mindset? Or how do I want to be as a communicator? And you could create an actual sentence for yourself. I am a strong, confident, effective communicator. Like if you said that to yourself over and over again before you go into meetings, we start to rewire the brain and train the brain to say, this is who I am. Because sometimes the way we act is driven by the identity we think about ourselves. So I'm strong, I'm bold, I'm courageous, I'm a great communicator. If those aren't things that like you hear and you're like, that's not me, there's like an identity inside that's saying, oh, like I'm not that. And we want to transform that a little bit. And so Tony, where should we go now? Do you want to go into some functional stuff, or what do you want to get into?
Yeah, for time's sake, I think giving them some good nuggets to put in their toolbox would be really, really good. We can start with you, and then I can add in however you want to do it.
Okay, let's take a pulse check. Lillian, you've been sitting there, and we had a conversation recently. What's top of mind for you? What are you getting out of this conversation so far, just to see how it's landing for you?
Thank you, Tony, for the opportunity. Hi, everyone. I'm joining from Kenya. So for me, what I'm learning is communication is not just words. It's an art. It's about learning to be confident, to be very clear, to communicate effectively, both with your voice and with your body language. So that is my key takeaway. Thank you.
And I think that's an important one for us all to remember, because sometimes we think, oh, I got to say the right thing. Yes, you got to say good words, but also, are we saying too many words? Are we shortening our sentences and being more impactful? Are we pausing along the way? Lillian had a smile. When she smiled, like the mood changes. So we want to think about the movie that we're presenting to other people. And maybe we'll just dig into a couple of those components. I think one at a simple level is like, how is your body language? Are you slumped over or are you upright? Like I heard it once, we can change the actual confidence with which we portray by a 2 millimeter shift. Like if I point to my chest and I go like this, or I go like this, like that's a 2 millimeter shift in my chest. Obviously my head's moving a little bit differently, but the point being is we can shift physiology and we show up a lot more confident. Like this is not that confident. This is a lot more confident. Shoulders back, 90 degrees, energized, eyes up, using hand motions. Like there's all different stuff that conveys energy. It conveys confidence. It's how do we show up energetically and physically that can be valuable. You want to say some on the physical components, Tony? What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I love statistics. I'm a data guy. I love that, especially when it comes to this stuff, because it helps people kind of connect the dots. I love storytelling. And so they did a review, TED Talks, right? We all seen TED Talks. We love TED Talks. So what they did is they actually reviewed there was actually people that actually reviewed every single TED Talk. And this is what they found. They said the least viewed TED Talks accounted for 272 hand gestures using their hands as they communicated. The most viewed averaged 465 hand gestures, almost double. The 3 top TED Talks ever, which is by Temple Grandin, Simon Sinek, and Jay McGonigal, they actually did 600 hand gestures in a period of only 18 minutes. So one of the top ways that you can actually gain confidence and practice is by using your hands. So you'll see David, you'll see me, as he's talking about here, we're using our hands, and that's the first thing I would teach in any communication, because the nervous person, the awkward person, the person that doesn't like to speak, if they're actually utilizing their hands and they're talking about how they want to be here and they're growing into this, what you're going to find is no matter what they're talking, they could be talking about the most silliest thing, and it's going to sound better because they're utilizing their hand gestures. So they always say, if you're in person and in front, they say if you put your hands in your pockets, they say in your head you should yell out murderer, because it's like the worst thing when it comes to communication. So that's one of the first key things is hand gestures. And then, the other two, which we can go over whenever you're ready, is posture, which we discussed a little bit about, and eye contact. So those are the two main, as far as that goes, as far as the physical aspect goes of it. It's the hand gestures, it's the eye contact. I even say, if you're in an interview, even on a screen, look into the actual camera and just talk, because you don't have to see what they're saying. You're hearing them, you're talking, you're discussing, and you're looking at them and making it more personal.
Beautiful. Yeah. Body language, hand gestures, posture, eye contact. So all of these things are things you can even write them down and say, okay, I'm going to record myself. Like I'm going to do a video and then do a little review. How was my eye contact? How was my posture? Was I using my hands and hand gestures? And if you're not used to it, it's going to feel incredibly awkward initially. But then as you do it more and more and more, see, I coordinate like my hands, right? More and more and more. But in the past, it would have been like more and more and more. But now I'm just a talking head. When you bring life to it, it adds to your communication, but it demonstrates that you have that confidence as well. Because like we're coming back to confidence. The more you can demonstrate that you are confident to the audience, the more impactful that is. So we want to think about, are we portraying confidence through all of these elements? If you can't make eye contact with me, I have a sense that something's off. You might not be confident enough to maintain eye contact, but we can actually do exercises. So I think maybe we'll shift into some practical tips that you can actually do to build your communication and build your confidence. One of the things, and maybe we'll spitball here, Tony, but one of the things that I've found over time is just doing mirror work. Like if I'm standing in the mirror, I'll stand in the mirror and I'll talk to myself, but I'll say it in a way where I'm making eye contact with myself. I'm looking at my body language and my hand gestures. And so you can practice a lot of communication by simply standing in the mirror and having a conversation with yourself. Initially, it's a little awkward. It's a little weird. You might not want to do it if other people are around, but practice, which Tony talked about earlier, is what improves our ability. Zechariah said it earlier, like she's had a lot of work experience and training that she's gotten to put into practice. And so then skills rise. And also when skills rise, for me, confidence rises. Tony, what are some things that are top of mind, or how do you look at like the practice of it, like getting better at our confidence and our communication?
I love the mirror thing. And one thing I also do the mirror thing, or if I have someone I trust, whether that's a spouse, a friend that I could bounce off, hey, I want to give you this speech or talk or kind of practice my communication with you. You have a few minutes. I utilize all that. But what I do when I take to that is I take my frameworks there. And so having a framework, what it does is frameworks are basically there to keep you from rambling. It keeps you from freezing, not knowing what to say, over talking. That way it gives you the ability, as David said earlier, to pause. That way you're actually listening to what the other person is saying. It helps you from preventing underselling or even sounding unsure. So when it comes to frameworks, our brain is wired for chaos. This is the reality of the psychology of how our mind works. So if somebody says, tell me what you do. And David and I have both seen this, and so has our virtual assistants, our dear friends and sisters that have been there in these interviews. They'll get asked a question, a simple question, and you could see in their mind, they're like, are they talking about this? They do want me to talk about go high level? Do they want me to talk about stacks or emails? And you could see them getting flustered and trying to figure out how to direct a question back to the individual that asked it. And that's kind of how our mind works. So when it comes to frameworks, I utilize some that are so important that one of the top ones I like personally that pretty much all your top communicators use is 3-2-1. It's very simple. When somebody asks you something, you think of one thing, two types, three steps. So one thing, two types, three steps. So for instance, you could say like, what are one of the reasons of how you overcame a situation at your previous job? And one of the ways you can respond is rather than you think, okay, one thing, oh, the way I overcame, I love that question. I'm so glad you asked. There was a situation, which now leads into storytelling, where I was handled this task and I was asked to do X, Y, Z. Now, what I found, and here comes the two types, is that I got stuck to a place of what I didn't know what to do. And my options, the two types now, is either to go to the authority, my manager, my leader, the owner, whoever that was, or utilize the systems I had put in place, meaning kind of work through it, kind of work harder, don't hinder the manager. And I had to wrestle with that. And what I found, and now here's the three steps, is as I process, I thought about the first time I got hired. I thought about how we were a family and they went over the things that they required of me. And we discussed openly what those requirements were. Hey, come to me if this is what happens. Try to do all these things if you get stuck in this place. So I had these three things as I'm thinking through it. I came to the conclusion that in this situation, I could, in fact, go to them. And I did. And what I learned about that, and then you get into the takeaway. So that's one that's very easy. And that works for anything. Somebody says, tell me something about traveling. You think of one thing, two steps, traveling, you can go across the world and people love it. What's the two types of ways you can get there? Where you got to book it, you got to take the plane and land there. And what's the three things? Well, when you land there, you definitely got to eat, stay at your hotel, make sure it's the right place, and then go sightseeing. So whatever that is, it keeps you from being able to ramble and not know what to do.
Yeah, I think structures in general can be useful, certainly as we're preparing for a communication. Like I have introductory structures for how I would start a conversation like this. I call it purpose, process, payoff, check. Purpose, we're here to talk about confidence in communication. Process, we're going to talk about 3 topics. We're going to have back and forth dialogue, and we're going to give a summary at the end. So purpose, process, payoff. I said this at the beginning. I said, it's important to learn how to communicate confidently because it's going to impact business conversations, personal conversations, all these things. So one way to build confidence is to create simple structures for yourself and simple outlines for what you want to say, because then you don't have to make it up. You get to prepare it, practice it, deliver it. And then once you've done that a few times, if you're simply sharing about who you are and how you're going to answer interview questions, it becomes automatic. And I think something also that Tony hit on, one of the things I find a lot of times is, I think Tony used the word ramble. Like sometimes we go on and on and on about details, but we lose the actual point and the storyline. And the reality is we can communicate a lot of good information in very simple sentences and short sentences without having to give all the details. So that's one of the things with attention spans. A lot of people listening, you guys right now might be tuned out because Tony and I are boring, or we're not moving enough, or we're going off on a tangent that you don't understand. We want to make sure that our message is easy to follow and easy to absorb. Because if it's not, we're going to lose the audience. And you can lose the audience like that. We may have already lost some of you. Zechariah, you're on camera. How are we doing? Have we lost you? Or is there something you're like, what are you getting out of this part of it in terms of talking about how we prepare and how we can use structures? Anything for you that's a takeaway?
For using structures, and my takeaway for that one is it is highly important as well to have that, right? Because you're gonna be basing how you'll be able to work with the things that you're gonna have to do whenever you do have a structure. So it's very important because you're gonna have to follow through things, and it is evident that it is actually, and it is needed.
Very good. And are you actively working with someone right now? Are you looking for work? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm actually looking for work right now. I used to have I used to be a VA with an outsource. I actually started as an outsource VA. Then I was had a job previously with another VA agency. So that's how I started. And now I am currently looking for another for a work and for another agency.
And what's your expertise? Like, what do you focus on? Like, what are you really good at?
I can say customer service, alongside with I do have experience as well in GHL or Go High Level. And I also do business portfolios for my previous client together with social media management.
Very cool. Well, thank you for being here and sharing with us. I had a coach who used to say, courage is a quality that never goes out of fashion. Courage is a quality that never goes out of fashion, which means when we're courageous and bold and we speak up and we step out, that's like a quality that like not everybody has. And I only say that because Zechariah is here. She's engaging with us. She's on camera. So does anybody else have a question or something that you came here for, like advice on or wanted a tip on? So I see a lot of names here. So if anybody, if you want to come off on camera or off mute and come in and ask something. I see Rika or Rika, Mark, Jacob, Abby, Joe, Christelle, Jane. Would love to hear some other voices in the space, and we can answer any questions that you have. But if I'm going to summarize, and then Tony, I'll let you kind of add on with whatever you want to add before we start to wrap up here. I think one is mindset. Like we want to think about where's our mindset at around our communication. Where are we at now and where do we want to be? And how do we talk to ourselves internally? Am I saying I'm a bad communicator? Or am I telling myself, no, I'm a good communicator. I'm improving. I'm doing better and better every day. Like those are different talk tracks that are inside of our head. So building confidence starts with mindset. Tony and I reviewed a bunch of different tips in terms of like body language, eye contact, posture, all the different physical components that add to the confidence we may have. Physical confidence leads to actual confidence that people receive from us. And then the third point, we were talking about how do we shift some of these behaviors? How do we rise our confidence? Do we do mirror work? Do we practice? Do we have some structures that we use in preparation so when it is time to communicate, we've got them at our fingertips and we can feel more, because when we're real well prepared, we often communicate a lot more effectively. So preparation, and Tony started off saying that early on, preparation leads to performance. And the more we prepare for these moments where communication is important, the better we're going to perform. And that's something that comes with time as well. I think in Zechariah's story, she shared how because of the years of work that she's done, she's learned to communicate from 4-5 to 8-9, but that takes time. It takes work. It takes effort. Like it doesn't just, you don't come to a conversation like this and all of a sudden you have confidence. Like we build. And I'll be honest with you, if I haven't communicated in a while or I haven't given a presentation in a while, I'm rusty. So like it's also communication is something that you got to continually work on. And if you're not doing it regularly, if you're not in conversations where you're engaging with people and practicing it, it atrophies. If you don't walk, your legs get weak, right? So if you don't communicate, your communication skills suffer. Tony, what do you want to throw into the mix here?
I agree with all of that. I mean, the reality is it's the prep, it's adding in all those aspects, right? So it's the body language, it's the mindset. If you don't have the right mindset and you're trying to do the hand gestures, it's not going to work. I think you really got to get your mind focused on like, where am I headed? If I do this, I am going to get there. And where I'm at is, hey, I'm going to be a good communicator. And if you own it right then and there, knowing where you're going to go, like he said, you're going to get there because you've already set your mind. So make sure you set that foundation first and then start to build on it. Then you start utilizing your hands, making sure you're looking at as far as eye contact goes, verbalizing your words, your tonality. So all those things equal your toolbox. Just think about toolbox. You're just putting more tools in your toolbox to be a better communicator, whether that's in person, whether that's on a stage, or whether that's online.
Beautiful. Yeah, like simple message. Get the mind right, work on the mindset, know the skills, know the like functional skills, and then practice them. Like that's how we improve not only performance, but also confidence. Like confidence comes when we're like, I know I've communicated well in the past. I know that I'm a confident communicator. And so when the next time I have an opportunity to communicate, I'm going to do it great. Angelica, you're on camera. She's probably not expecting necessarily to be called on, but I want to get a quick take from you. Anything, what do you think about this session? Anything you would share in this moment? What's a takeaway for you, Angelica?
Actually, yes, it's a big help to us, Filipino VA, to have this kind of session because, like me, I'm also still working of my confidence and how I speak with, with clients, how I can ace the interview. Like, for example, I still remember, I just want to share this when you interviewed me. So, I'm not really that confident. So, maybe that's why I was not able to introduce more of my skills. Though I know that I'm skilled person, but because I'm not confident and I'm not really prepared to come in that interview, that's the reason why I didn't make it. So the takeaway right now is to communicate well, we really need to be prepared and be more confident, because if we are confident to introduce ourselves or show our skills or about who we are, then we can communicate well. So yeah, that's it.
No, that's beautiful, Angelica. And it brings up an important point, which is sometimes because like, let's say this to start off. Inside of each of us is a lot of like amazing stuff. Like we're all amazing people in all different kinds of ways, but we don't always believe that, and then we don't always share it. And so something that happened with Angelica and I was, she conveyed a lot of good things, but later on I learned about a bunch of other things that she had as skills and skill sets that I didn't hear about. I was like, why didn't you tell me about all of that? So I also know, I've just had experience with different cultures and people. Sometimes we feel it's weird to talk about ourselves in a positive light or to brag about who we are and what our skills are. But sometimes, especially in moments of interviews or other moments, like it's important to share some of those things with people, because otherwise, like, I might not know that Angelica is really gifted in go high level like setup, right? Like if I don't know that, now I don't have a data point that says, ooh, Angelica would be valuable in that area. So we gotta be okay championing ourselves, our ideas, the things that we have in here, because otherwise nobody else gets to know about it. And like, we want to know about it. That's something I've learned, is like, people want to hear what you have to say more than you think. Tony, what do you think?
I love it. And I also just kind of hit off what you said. What I love is authenticity. So being authentic, you look at us, we're truly authentic. What we talk about for you guys, it really does come from our heart. David, our rest of our staff, we process these things. We're talking, we're communicating, and it's number one because of our heart to serve others. At the end of the day, and that's the number one thing. I put a question in the chat box, in the message box, that basically asked, when they surveyed 1,000 people, which of these people habits annoy you the most? Was it people who are too talkative, people who are too quiet, people who are fake, or people who show off? And I can give you the answer, but here it is. I don't know if you guys answered any, but type into the comment section of what you think it is. But number one by far, and it's not even close, and Zechariah just answered, is people who are fake. And it led the board by far it's 63%. And number two was a distant second, which were people who show off, but it was only 22%. And you think about it, and the people that are too quiet or maybe too talkative and they do it out of nerves, those are the people that you would normally think, and they probably feel that they're not a good communicator. I talk too much and I ramble on, or I don't talk enough, I'm very shy and I get nervous. Those two people were not even in the realm of the things that annoy people, businesses, CEOs, and everything the most. So when you start thinking about that statistically, that means the two people that are usually the most nervous about communication are actually the most likely to get on the right track and be a difference maker and a great communicator over all the others. So being authentic, number one. Smiling, they say don't smile if you can't. But if you can, and you're really thrilled about the interview you're in, or you're very thrilled about the individual that you're talking to, or what you're doing, the webinar, go ahead and smile because it's authentic. And if it's not, then just remain silent and communicate in a different way.
And this is such a good point too, because, if I'm being real with you guys, a lot of times I like to put on a show. Like I want to look good. I want to communicate really well. But one thing that doesn't come through in those moments, and I even like think about it today, is if I'm not in my heart about it, like if I'm not authentic about my communication, the audience knows it. It's like, oh, like great message, but I didn't feel him. Like I didn't feel his heart. And how I'll translate that to some of the stuff that we do and we get to observe interviews. A lot of times afterwards, we get client feedback, either right then or later on. Some of the most impressive things that we regularly get feedback on are, I could tell that person cared and that they would work hard, but that was conveyed through the way in which they communicated. Like, and so if you can show that you care about the person you're speaking with, you care about their business, and that comes across, and that like you could simply say, man, I love your business and what you guys are doing, and I want to be a part of it. If that's true, I'm not saying lie, But like, if you see the business and it's a cool business, like simply saying that, like, I don't know what you guys think of me right now, but I just want to, like, we just had an interview and it was, what do you want us to be left with? Like, that would be a cool thing to say at the end is, I'm really excited about your business and what you guys are doing in the world. And I just want to be a part of it. So, you know, like, I want to be a part of it. Share your heart with people, because that's often what moves us most. So maybe that's how we'll wrap this thing up. It's, yeah, get your mindset right. It's know some of the functional stuff, do the work, and make sure you're being yourself, you're being your authentic self, and you're sharing from your heart. And when we do that, the right things are going to happen. We might not win every game. We might not get the answer that we always want. But when we're being true to ourselves, I didn't realize this was going to be a life message, Tony, but when we're being true to ourselves, like, things start to work out in alignment with what's meant for us. And that's important too. So I'll pause there. Any closing thoughts, Tony? Should we wrap it up?
I mean, we can wrap it up. I'll just leave with what Dale Carnegie said. He said, when dealing with people, remember, you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. So emotional impact always outlasts logical explanation. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said. And within the first 7 seconds, statistically, they actually say that people make judgments right away. It may not be the final judgment, but being able to be authentic right in the beginning, be your true self, as David said, is going to get you farther than anything else.
And let's do this before we wrap up. Just as a pulse check, I see Lillian just put in key takeaway: be authentic. For everyone who's here, if you are here, prove to us you've been listening. But what's a takeaway you're getting from all that we've talked about? We've talked about mindset. We've talked about some of the ways in which we communicate. We've talked about preparation and getting ready to communicate. And then we talked about, like, let's be authentic when we do communicate. Let's speak from the heart and bring that forward. What's one thing everybody's taking away from this? And then the other thing I'm curious about is, what do you want more of? Because I can bring a lot of different content. Tony can bring a lot of different content to these trainings, and we're looking to grow. We're looking to kind of share wisdom with you all around things that are important to you. So, like, what would you want the next training to be about? Are you interested in learning some, like, technical stuff about building your profile on LinkedIn, or learning how to use Go High Level, or digital marketing? Like, what are some of the things that, because we'll cater to the audience, what are some of the things you guys are looking for in future trainings? If you want to, I'll do that. Zechariah, and then I'll go to Lillian. Everybody's on camera, but I want to know everyone. Zechariah, what would you like in a future training?
Guess for future training, since we were able to disclose that we all need a little bit a little bit of a little bit more for showing confidence. Uh as per my part, personally, the skill set, because not all of us are fully equipped with skill sets, but we're definitely in for learning new things and learning new skill sets. I believe I can speak for everyone on this matter, since we're all working under the same industry.
Amazing. Okay, so maybe we'll look at some skills that are most important. I see building profile, because what might be useful is if we do, like, I'm doing a lot on LinkedIn currently. I'll just share my profile with everyone. Would love if you guys are active on LinkedIn, would love to be connected and have, let me see if I can get this here, and have interactions with you all on LinkedIn. There it is. Okay. So maybe what we'll do, because it's actually relevant, because LinkedIn, you have to build your profile about your work experience. So it would be technically learning some ways in which you can use LinkedIn for your personal profile, but also we can bring in some digital marketing skills as well, because you have to create content and be good at creating content, good at writing and communicating, and then also have a good profile that draws attention to you. So maybe that'll be what we focus on next time, is building profile, but also some digital skills in alignment with that. Lillian, anything else you want more of? I'm giving priority to anyone who's on camera, but if anybody else wants to come in, no worries, let me know. Go ahead, Lillian.
Thank you. So I have just also posted on the chats more training on strengthening digital communication, time management, self-discipline, working remote. Of course, tech proficiency, Zechariah already mentioned that, and tools to also learn. And of course, problem-solving skills as a remote personnel and collaborative tools as well. Thank you.
That's a good list. All right, we'll reflect on this, and then we'll let you guys all know what the next one is. But I think it's going to be some kind of digital communication, maybe combo with LinkedIn, and how we can learn some skills around all of what you guys shared. So thank you, Lillian. Thank you, Zechariah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to wrap up, but we'll be hosting these every 2 or 3 weeks or so. And I think you're on the distribution now, so you should get an email. And yeah, this is great. Angelica, what'd you think? How did we do? We did all right?
Yes, Coach, congratulations and thank you for attending this seminar. So we hope we see you soon for our next. This would be every 2 weeks. And is it okay if we ask a favor to open your camera and just take a screenshot, like a picture?
Yeah, because we'll post this. We'll have everybody recognized for it. So yeah, if you can come on camera, we're gonna take a quick group photo and screenshot, and we'll do that. So see, I knew you guys were out there. There we go. I knew everyone was out there. All right, good stuff. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, I got that one, Angelica. Is there a way to maybe I can turn off? Is there a way to look at view? Maybe I'll view hide non-video participants. All right, so everybody is on video. We're gonna do it now. We'll do one more photo. This is fun. 1, 2, big smile, 3. Awesome. Well done. Thank you, Angelica. See, this is the value of having a good team, technology, all the different stuff. So everyone have a beautiful and blessed day or night, wherever you are, whatever time it is, and we'll talk soon.
I did want to add when you're done.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just quickly, she brought up time management. I did just put a PDF you guys could download. You can ask me about it later on. I put my LinkedIn there. David has his in there too. But it's a really good kind of a dashboard. I have it if you need it in PowerPoint, but it's good for time management. So it kind of sets goals, and then you have cutoff times, like I'm gonna get this done by this date if you're doing a kind of a midterm goal or long-term goal. But it's really good. Take a look at it. If it helps, that's great. And if you need any advice on it or how to use it, just let me know.
Game on. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Like Katy Perry, baby, you're a firework to bring it all full circle. Go out and have some fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.